Okay, we have a video lesson here for you to learn about ratio and proportions. A ratio, simply 12 centimeters over 4 meters. Well, sometimes not sometimes, all the time we like to reduce these. We like to simplify these. So we want these to be in simplified form. 12 over 4, a lot of you just want to jump to the conclusion and say, hey, that's 3. But in reality, you need to pay attention to the units after. We have a centimeter, we have a meter. So we need to change these somehow to be the same. Well, I know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Well, in our problem, we have 4 meters. So how do you get from 1 to 4? Multiply by 4. So therefore, from 100 to whatever, we're going to multiply by 4. And that should give us 400 centimeters. That's not what I wanted to move. And since 4 meters is equal to 400 centimeters, we will go ahead and write that here. 4 meters on the bottom is also 400 centimeters. Now that we have the units the same, we can go ahead and reduce those, cross those off. And now you should be thinking to yourself, what number goes into 12 that also goes into 400? 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 400 divided by 4 is 100. We cannot simplify that any further, so we just have 3 over 100. Down here, 6 foot over top of 12 yards. We know that in 1 yard, there are 3 feet. So if we have 6 feet, multiply 3 by 2, and we also have to multiply 1 by 2 then. So when we take and multiply 1 by 2, two yards. 6 feet is equal to 2 yards. So on the top, we have 6 feet, but we're going to write it as 2 yards. And on bottom, we have 12 yards. The units are the same, and they cancel each other out. And we know that 2 over 12, we know that 2 goes into 2 one time, and we know that 2 goes into 12 6 times. So that is the simplified form. Let's look at this next one. Let's see you go ahead and try this on your own. You're going to try it on your own. You're going to pause the video, work them out, and then you're going to see if your answers match mine. I will tell you that 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet. And down here at the bottom, 1 gram is equal to 1. Let me start over on this one. 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Yes, that makes more sense now. So you can go ahead and try this on your own. Pause the video. I'll work it out. You can check your solution with mine. So if 1 mile is equal to 5,280 feet, I have to multiply 1 mile by 2 to get 2 miles, so let's go ahead and multiply this by 2. There we go. 2 miles is equal to 10,560 feet. And we have this over top of 2,500 feet. I know we can cancel feet and feet. And I know right now, since I have 0 on the right for both of them, I'm going to go ahead and cross those zeros off. That would be just like dividing by 10, dividing both sides by 10. And where do we go from here? I'm not for sure which numbers actually go into 1056 and 250. So I'm going to divide both of them by 5. Or, I'm just kidding, divide both of them by 2. If I divide both of them by 2, that gives me 528 on top and 125 on bottom. And at this moment I know that there's no other numbers that go into 528 and 125, so that is the simplified form of the ratio. Okay, now looking down here at the second one, if I have 80 kilograms, in order to get to 1 to 80, I have to multiply by 80. So I multiply this by 80, and I believe that gives me 80,000 grams. So on top, 80,000 grams, and on bottom, 3,500 grams. And I cross off grams. I know I can cross off the grams. And 2 zeros on the right, which would be like dividing by 100. So right now I'm left with 800 divided by 35. So 800 divided by 35. How about 5? Let's just go with 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 800 divided by 5 is 160. I do know that the only numbers that go into 1 and 7 are, I'm sorry, the only numbers that go into 7 are 1 and 7, and 7 does not go into 160, so therefore there's the simplified form of the ratio. Your answers should match mine, and if they do, you've done well. If not, try to figure out your mistake, or next time you see me, ask me and we will look through that together. The perimeter of a rectangle ABCD is 28 meters. Remember, perimeter is the distance around. The ratio of side AB to side BC is 4 to 3. Find the length and width of the rectangle. Well, side AB has a ratio of 4 when it is compared to side BC, which has a ratio of 4 to 3. That would be the ratio. And you notice right here, it was AB to BC, and it was 4 to 3. That's how I knew that 4 went with AB and 3 went with BC. And so from here, we're supposed to find the perimeter. Well, I can tell you that this is a ratio. 4 to 3 is a ratio, and it's a simplified ratio. So that means they were both simplified by the same number. That same number we're going to call x at this moment. We don't know what x is, but we're going to figure it out. Well, perimeter is the distance all the way around, so since it's a rectangle, those opposite sides are going to be the same, and this opposite side will be the same. So let's go ahead and figure out. We're going to take 3x plus 4x plus 3x plus 4x. 3x plus 4x plus 3x plus 4x. What must that be equal to? Well, when you add up all 4 sides, that gives us the perimeter, which happens to be 28 meters. So 3 plus 4 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 4 is 14. So we have 14x is equal to 28 meters. Divide by 14, divide by 14. X is equal to 2 meters. Now that's just the number that it was reduced by, was 2 meters. That has not given us the length and the width yet. So remember, the length is right here, 4x. So the length is equal to 4x, and x happens to be 2 meters. So the length is 8 meters. And now let's look at the width, which happens to be 3x. But in our case, x was 2 meters. So the width is 6 meters. So we have a length of 8 meters and a length of 6 meters. And if we think about that, 8, 6, divide each one by 2, and that will give us the ratio. And also, if we think about this here, as far as perimeter that we were just talking about, if this is 8, this is 6, well, this one's also 8, and this one is also 6. Add all those up. 6 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8. This gives us 14. This also gives us 14, which gives us 28. And we know we have the correct answer when we say 8 meters by 6 meters. Let me see you try one of these on your own. You try it on your own, try to work it out, see what you can come up with, and then play the video, make sure your solution matches mine. It says AB to BC is 6 to 5, so 6 goes with AB, and BC would be 5. Well, I know that this 6 to 5 is a reduced ratio, so I'm going to put x there, and I know that this is 6x and this is 5x, so let's add all these up. 5 plus 5 is 10, 6 plus 6 is 12, 10 and 12 make 22x. You divide both sides by 22, x will equal 55 over 25. I can reduce this by 11. The top number, 55 divided by 11, will leave us with 5, and the bottom number, 22 divided by 11, leaves us with 2. So x is equal to 5 over 2. Now, I left out the unit here, 55 meters. So 55 meters, 55 meters, meters, 5 halves meters. Now, I'm okay leaving it as 5 over 2 for x. We're going to calculate length and width. So let's go ahead and do so. We know length is equal to 6x. So that's going to be 6 over 1 times 5 over 2 meters. Go ahead and multiply the top. That gives us 30. Multiply the bottom. That gives us 2. And 30 divided by 2 is 15. 15 meters. So now, let's find the width. The width is 5x. We know x to be 5 over 2 meters. Let me just try this one again. 5 over 1 times 5 over 2 meters. I left out meters before, that's what I was trying to get to. So now let's go ahead and multiply. 5 times 5 will give us 25. 1 times 2 will give us 2, and that's 25 over 2 meters. This really doesn't help us out a whole lot if we're trying to find dimensions of a rectangle. So how many times does the bottom number 2 go into 25? 12 times, and there's 1/2 left over. So if you're comparing length to width, 15 meters by 12.5 meters. And you can also check by plugging in those numbers, adding them up, and finding to make sure they add up to the perimeter, which is 55. This concept that we use here is also the concept that we use here in order to find the missing angle measurements. So in order to find the missing angle measurements, it says the angles of a triangle have a ratio of 2 to 3 to 4. What are the angle measurements of the triangle? 2 to 3 to 4. Well, remember, this is a reduced ratio. So we know that they're all reduced by the same number. I know that one is the largest one, so I'm going to go ahead and put 4 there. I can't tell either way which one of these is the smallest. So 2 to 3 to 4, and remember they were all reduced by the same number. Let's say that number would be x. What do you know about those 3 angles of the triangle? What was that again? I couldn't hear you the first time. Oh, yeah. They have a sum. When you add all 3 of those up, they will all add up to equal 180 degrees. 2 plus 3, since all these are like terms, 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. So we have 9x is equal to 180. Divide both sides by 9. 180 divided by 9 will leave us with 20. So x is equal to 20. Question, what are the angle measurements of the triangle? So we have a 2x. We have 2x is equal to an angle, which would be 2 times 20. So that is 40 degrees. We have a 3x, which will be 3 times 20, which is 60 degrees. And we also have a 4x, which is 4 times 20, which is 80 degrees. Do all 3 of these add up to equal 180 degrees? 40 plus 60 is 100, plus 80 is 180 degrees. So therefore you have your angle measurements. We're moving into proportions now. Proportion is just simply when you put 2 ratios together with an equal sign between them. It's basically what a proportion is. That's kind of my definition. It's probably not real technical, but that's my definition of proportion. When you have a proportion, the left fraction should equal the right fraction. But in our situation here, we don't know what the right fraction actually is. But which number could we plug in for x? Which number could we substitute in for x to make the left fraction equal to the right fraction? Well, we use a thing called the cross product property to do that. Cross product property. And what that means is, you guys typically always tell me you cross multiply and divide. Well, it has always worked out for you like that, but we're just going to do cross multiplying at this moment. You can use your other algebraic skills to figure out what you're supposed to do after. So, cross multiply. We say 12 times x, which is, you got it, 12x. And then we're going to say 21 times 20. 21 times 20, can you do that in your head? I believe it's 420. And now from here, how do you get x by itself? Divide by 12, those cancel, divide by 12. So, x is equal to, now we have 420 divided by 12. I want to reduce this. What number goes into 420 that also goes into 12? About 6. I believe if we look, 42 divided by 6 is 7, and then we bring down the 0. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. Now, if we look here, we have 70 divided by 2, and both of those are even numbers. 35. 70 divided by 2 is 35. That's what x is equal to. How can you check your work to make sure you're correct? Well, you know 12 over 21, you divide both the top and the bottom by 3, so that should give you 4 over 7. And now we have 20 over, since x was 35, we plug 35 in there and divide the top by 5 and the bottom by 5, and that should give us 4 over 7. So therefore, 12 over 21 is equal to 20 over 25, or I'm sorry, 20 over 35, because they're equal. 4 over 7 and 4 over 7. When you simplify the ratios, that's what you get. All right? Let's look at this reciprocal property. Okay, the reciprocal property says that if we cross multiply up here, that gives us 12 times x, which is equal to 21 times 20. What the reciprocal property says, well, instead of 12 over 21, I want 21 over 12, the reciprocal of this. So that must be equal to what? It must be equal to x over 20, which happens to be the reciprocal of this. That's what the reciprocal property is telling us. Now, why does this hold true? Is because if we still go ahead and cross multiply here, do the cross product property, we get 21 times 20, which is equal to 12 times x. And you notice how these two things are the same. So that's a reciprocal property for you. Cross product property. Why don't you go ahead and try this cross product property on your own, and then you can go from here. Pause the video. Make sure you've paused the video and try it on your own, then see if your solution matches mine. I'm going to say 8 times 9 is 72, and then 4 times the bottom. The bottom happens to be n minus 4. So when we distribute, 4 times n and 4 times negative 4. And so now we just need to solve for n. We're going to add 16 to both sides, so that leaves us with 88 is equal to 4 times n. And from here, divide by 4, divide by 4. N will equal 22. That's what n is equal to, 22. All right, this one here. This one here is a little more challenging than what we had. This is going to require you to remember your factoring skills from algebra class. We still have an unknown, so we're still going to be using cross product property. So when we say negative 2 times 3, it gives us negative 6. And then we're going to say x plus 5 being multiplied by x. Distribute, we get x times x, which is x squared, and then x times positive 5, which is a positive 5x. That's equal to negative 6. Well, since we have a quadratic here, we're going to try to set one side of the equation equal to 0, so that way we can find out what the solutions are, find out what the roots to the quadratic equation are going to be. So to do that, let's add 6 to both sides. Add 6 to both sides. So when you add 6 to both sides, you're going to get x squared plus 5x plus 6. And so from here, we need to factor this. We need to find two numbers that multiply to give you 6. The numbers that multiply to give you 6 are going to be 1, 6, 2, 3. We could also go -2, -3, and -1, -6. Those give us +6. And we also need to find numbers that add up to give you +5. So which one of these add up to give you +5? Well, that's -5. This one right here is +5. That one right there is the one we're looking for, because this equals 7 and this equals -7. So we're not looking at any of those three. It's 2 and 3. That's the ones we're interested in. 2 and 3. So remember that. I'm going to erase some of that. So once we know that 2 times 3 is going to give us +6 and add up to give us +5x, we're going to say x plus 2 is one factor, and x plus 3 is the other factor. So how did we get x? X is here, because what is x times x? X squared. What is 2 times 3? +6. And then I'm doing FOIL here in case you didn't catch on to that, using the FOIL method. So this would be the insides, which would give us 2x, and this would be the outsides, which would give us 3x. And when you put 2x and 3x together, 5x. And so from here, these factors, one of them have to be 0 in order for the left side of the equation to equal 0. So how do we do this? We say x plus 2, the first factor, we set it equal to 0, x is equal to -2. The second factor, we also set it equal to 0. X plus 3 is equal to 0, subtract 3 from both sides, x is equal to -3. And so for this cross product property up here, for this problem, you have two answers. X can be equal to -2, or x can be equal to -3. You have two answers for that problem. Moving on. This is a property of proportions. This is another property of proportions. The reciprocal property and the cross product property were two other property of proportions. This is another one. Where are we going here? Well, remember that this started out as A over B is equal to C over D. That's what this started out as. So A over B this would say, if A over B is equal to C over D, then this is true. So how do we get from the hypothesis here to the conclusion? Well, we have A over B plus 1 is equal to C over D plus 1. I have just basically added 1 to both sides of the equation. I'm allowed doing that because I've added 1 to both sides. So I still have a balanced equation. Now, A over B plus 1, they do not have like denominators, so I want them to have like denominators. So I have B over B. I just changed 1 to B over B. So now if we have C over D plus 1, we want them to have like denominators. And so from here, let's just combine like terms. A plus B gives us A plus B. And on the bottom, you have a denominator. And on top here, C plus D. On the bottom, the denominator. And so if you look at what we have here compared to the conclusion, that's how we get from the hypothesis clear down to the conclusion. Now you might ask, how does this relate with numbers? We can look here back to the first cross product property that we found. Remember, we found x to be 35, so I just went ahead and substituted that in. Well, if we have 12 over 21 and we want to add 1 to it, we have 20 over 35 and we would like to add 1 to it. We need to change 1 to have a denominator of 21. And we need to change 1 on the right side to have a denominator of 35. And so from here, combine the left side, 12 plus 21, 33, and the denominator. On the right side, 20 plus 35, 55, and the denominator. And so basically you start out with this proportion. I just noticed that really shouldn't say cross product property. But anyways, we start out with this proportion up here, and we can get down to this proportion right here. You just have to recognize that the only thing that you did was that you would add 1 to both the right and left side of the equations. So we've kind of done all that. We have one last topic to discuss here, which is the geometric mean. This is a little bit, I was going to say a little bit, it's actually a lot different than the arithmetic mean that you're used to doing. Arithmetic mean, like if you had these numbers here, what is the arithmetic mean? Well, you add them all up and divide by 4. So that's going to be 16 divided by 4, which is 4. That would be the arithmetic mean of those 4 numbers. Geometric mean is different. We're going to say, what is the geometric mean of A and B? Well, the geometric mean is this. A over x is equal to x over b. And then you just use your cross product property to solve out for x. Let's do an example here. What is the geometric mean of 7 and 18? Well, we're going to let A equal 7 and let B equal 18. And you just plug these numbers in to this right here. A is 7. B is 18. We've just substituted in. And now we use cross product property. 7 times 18. What's 7 times 18? 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 1 is 1, plus 5 is 12. 7 times 18 is 126. And that is equal to x times x, which is x squared. And how do we get x by itself? We're going to take the square root. Take the square root. The square root of x squared is x. And now for 126, what is the perfect square that goes into 126? I think 9. 9 times 14. So 126 becomes 9 times 14. And what is the square root of 9? Well, that's 3. And what is the square root of 14? Square root of 14. And so there's your geometric mean. 3 times the square root of 14. I have 2 problems here I would like you to try on your own. You work those out, try those, and then check your solution with mine. 10 over x is equal to x over 20. Let's multiply. 200 is equal to x squared. Square root of both sides. So that leaves us with x is equal to 100 times 2. And we know the square root of 100 is 10. And the square root of 2 is 2. That's what that's what the geometric mean is, which is x in this case. And we have 6 over x is equal to x over 12. Cross multiply. 6 times 12 is 72. X times x is x squared. We're going to take the square root of both sides, leaving us with x is equal to 36 times 2. And the square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 2 is 2. So, if we look there, we have the geometric mean. I believe that's all we have for this lesson. I will see you the next time, and I hope that you have a good day until then.